Hello, everyone. So you are tuning into our YouTube live financial aid info session. These questions any questions that you may have, and we're going to try to get answers for you. So we're specifically going to be answering questions for the School of Arts and Sciences and the School of Computing and Information. I have some great colleagues with me today, and we're just so happy and thrilled to be able to chat with you. I hope everyone's doing well today. So my name is Hannah McBean. I'm a financial aid counselor here. I'm also a proud parent. I have a student who is currently a University of Pittsburgh junior, and I also have an incoming freshman, just like many of you are today. I'm joined by two of my colleagues, and I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves.
Thanks, Hannah. Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Ellis. I am Assistant Director of Operations and member of the University Scholarship Committee. I am a proud Pitt alum, class of 2011, and very excited to be talking with you today.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Trish McCarthy. I'm a financial aid counselor at the University of Pittsburgh. Hannah and I work together. I work with the need-based aid that is given out to incoming students and present students on both the undergraduate level and graduate levels at the university.
Thank you, Trish. So I just have a couple of housekeeping things. First of all, congratulations to all of you for being admitted to the University of Pittsburgh, and we can't wait to see you in the fall. If by now you should have received a financial aid offer letter from our office. If you have not received that letter, or you're kind of wondering how do I get access to it, please give us a call at 412-624-7488. And also you may email us at finaid@pitt.edu. While we're on this chat, if you have any personal questions or you would just like to get a one-on-one with a counselor, we are very happy to help you with that as well. So we're going to get started here. And please, whenever you're ready, keep the questions coming, and we're going to do our best to answer as many of them as possible. I'm going to ask Julia and Trish if they could just give us just a background of what merit-based aid is and what need-based aid is.
Sure, I'll go ahead and start with the merit-based scholarships. So our scholarships at the University of Pittsburgh are typically fairly competitive at this point in the process for any students who are admitted. All of those scholarships have already been awarded. So the process is complete for the incoming first-year students. The typical profile of student who received a scholarship this year had about a 1460 or higher on their SATs, or a 33 or higher ACT composite score, and ranked in the top 5% of their high school graduating class, if and only if their school ranked. So there are many schools out there that don't rank. We're perfectly aware of that. In that case, we would evaluate students' transcripts, their course rigor, make sure they have a strong A or A+ average in those instances. So our scholarships are all based on that academic merit, though it is also a holistic review. A lot of things to keep in mind as well is that we review students for scholarships also based on the school that they are applying to. So some of the more competitive schools would be the Swanson School of Engineering or the School of Computing and Information, for example, the School of Nursing. So some of our more professional schools, those are typically much more competitive to receive as well.
And I work on the need-based side of financial aid. This university uses the federal FAFSA application for need-based aid. So if you are an admitted student and interested in receiving a need-based aid offer, make sure that you file the 2020-2021 FAFSA application, and also make sure that the Pitt school code is listed on that application. There are a few different Pitt school codes because of the medical school and the dental school. The one for undergraduates is 008815. So again, it's the school code is 008815. And at this time, I would mention to say that financial aid is definitely a cyclical event. It happens every year. Every year that federal FAFSA application form will open during the month of October. So you might as well just get used to putting an electronic reminder on your family's calendar as soon as October 1st rolls around to just fill out the FAFSA for that upcoming academic year. So believe it or not, incoming freshmen, when you are in school for about 5 or 6 weeks, your parents and you can file that FAFSA application for your upcoming sophomore year. Uh, there are maybe around 85 to 90 questions on that FAFSA application, listing both student information and parent information. The calculation for need-based aid is a federal calculation. And in some way, that entire calculation uses all of those questions, but most heavily weighted would be the parent's information as well as the parent's household information, meaning how many people are in the household and how many people are in the household attending college.
Thanks so much. So as we know, grants are need-based aid, and we have a question about how are grants renewed? So that would go to Trish.
Okay, so there are different types of grants. You can receive a grant from the federal government. You could potentially receive a grant from the state of Pennsylvania, or you could receive a need-based grant from the University of Pittsburgh itself. A family would want to file the FAFSA application every year to see if their particular grants can be renewed. Keep in mind that many of the financial aid types that are on financial aid offers all have their own sets of rules. So the federal grant has a different set of rules than the state grant set of rules, et cetera. As long as your future FAFSA applications remain relatively similar, if you are a family where your income stays relatively similar throughout the years, number in household stays similar, number of household in college stays similar, then it's a pretty good estimate to think that the aid is renewable per year, especially if you are a Pennsylvania resident. I would absolutely keep in mind of the state deadline for filing a FAFSA application. It's always May 1st. So for the graduating high school seniors slash incoming freshmen coming to Pitt, make very sure that your FAFSA application for your freshman year is filled out by May 1st if you are a Pennsylvania resident. The state of Pennsylvania, their educational arm is PHEAA, PHEAA, which is, I always mess this one up, which is the Pennsylvania Higher Education Assistance Agency. In order to look for qualifying for that grant, the state of PA will make very sure that it only looks at candidates that have filed by May 1st. They hardly have any exceptions to that rule. It's a very hard and fast rule. So definitely make sure if you haven't filed your FAFSA yet and you are graduating from high school that you get that done now.
Thank you. Excellent. Those grants, it's important to meet that May 1st deadline. So what about the match? I'm sure people are hearing about the state match and also the Pell Match. Can you elaborate a little bit about, I have a question about, is the Pell grant match guaranteed for 4 years? Could you break that down a little bit, please?
Sure. So this university has decided to match all federal Pell grants, starting with this present freshman class and continuing onward. So it is potentially a renewable grant that a student could receive for all 4 years of their undergrad. It's an extremely impressive decision that the University of Pittsburgh has made, simply being that for students who receive a Pell Grant from the federal government, the university is willing to match the value of that federal Pell Grant with additional funds from the university for the same value. So that is a new emphasis that the university has taken part of in the last year. It's been it's been given many accolades and it's very impressive. It really helps out in filling the gap in funding education. And yes, that is a renewable grant for students.
Thanks so much, Trish. So I just want to say if anyone has any COVID related questions, to please feel free to call our office. Again, the number is 412-624-7488. We would like to get answers for you for those questions as well. Okay, over to Julia. So I have some scholarship questions here. What are some conditions that are set in place for scholarship renewals? And how should students expect that when they get awarded a scholarship? How are they renewing those?
That's a great question. So the scholarships that are awarded from our office are able to be renewed for up to 4 years or 8 semesters. Students do have to be meeting satisfactory academic progress in their classes each year. They have to maintain a 3.00 cumulative GPA. And they also have to be enrolled full time, which is 12 to 18 credits. We do have a list of guidelines, so that should have been sent to students who received that that particular merit scholarship. If they did receive one, they should have received those guidelines. And then we typically go over them again during welcome week when students are here on campus when they moved in for the first year students. But that typically is full-time enrollment and a 3.00 cumulative GPA.
Okay, thank you. And if you could elaborate just a little bit more on just, are there any departmental scholarships available for incoming freshmen? How are scholarships determined for students who are incoming freshmen?
Sure. So outside of the scholarships that we've already awarded to students, we do have a scholarship database that's called Pitt Funds Me. It's available to all of our admitted students through the my.pitt.edu web portal. So when you log in there, if you don't already see Pitt Funds Me on your dashboard, you can use the search bar at the top. It's labeled Ask Kathy to locate it. Going into that, you would be answering questions, and then the database will pull any scholarships that you might be eligible to apply for. And then you can start to apply for any and all of those scholarships. There are currently external scholarships on there. Typically any other scholarships from different donors, endowed funds, different departments on campus would all be available through that database. Typically we start to post those, I believe, in May. Usually that happens. So once students have decided to enroll and commit to Pitt, then they will start to see some of those become available over the summer. And there are some that are available for first year students, but typically more will start to open up as students become more established within their department. Once they start establishing a GPA at the university, those are absolutely available to those students. If anyone had joined one of the sessions earlier for arts and sciences with the faculty, I know during the natural sciences session, some of the faculty were talking about that and the different scholarships that they offer and awards ceremonies that they have each semester for students within their department. So those are definitely available for students continuing on and outside of our office. Trish, do you have anything else to add about Pitt Funds Me?
Sure. I would also say that any information that is on a student's application for admission to the university is automatically inputted into that Pitt Funds Me database. So who you are, where you're from, what high school you attended, your intention for major, as you age through your undergraduate degree, what degree you are actually studying, your college GPA, things like that. All of that information that's in the Pitt computer system is automatically imported to Pitt Funds Me. So rest assured, your information is already in there if you have applied and have been accepted to the university. At this point, since we are in the month of April, even though many of our days seem like Groundhog Day and nothing's changing on my calendar, May 1st is coming along. So at this point, I would also suggest to look locally for scholarships. These are the types of scholarships that we see. We see scholarships from a student's employer, their parents' employer, students' high school, any type of club or religious organization in which your family belongs. These are the types of scholarships that we see coming in with students as they graduate from high school. I have yet to see the scholarship from the Coca-Cola can that says, drink this soda and then you'll win 25 grand or whatever. I have yet to see that on a student's account, but I do see the name of their high school, the local bank, things like that. In the county where I live, there is one race. It's a running race. It's a 5K that takes place every year. And the bounty that's made from this race funds a scholarship to one or two students that live within the county and are graduating from high school. So maybe at this point in the game, maybe this race has website presence, maybe not. This is more of a concept that I see in the local newspaper, the little flyers you get in the mail kind of thing. So this might not be a general website search for scholarships. This is more of phone calls, talking to your parents, having your parents call their employers to talk to HR, things like that. That's the kind of scholarship that I see successfully received with incoming freshmen.
Thank you so much. And if I might add, I mean, I have 3 students in college, and you'll be surprised at what companies would actually want to help you, and hey, McDonald's, is a company that often helps students, and they have scholarships available each year.
I have
Um,
also seen a few students who work for Chick-fil-A. Have seen
ooh,
3 Chick-fil-A scholarships in the last year. So if you're out there, or if you're a junior in high school and you're listening to this because your siblings next to you, go work for Chick-fil-A and then see what they have available for you in scholarships. It's things like that. Ask your parents, ask your high school counselor. Um, the flyers that were in front of the counselor's door and when you were in school, email that counselor and see what did those flyers say. Have them send you screenshots, things like that.
right, the sky's the limit. So we have another question that a student would like to know: what is the difference in my loans being subsidized and unsubsidized? Trish, back to you.
Sure. So that's a very common question. Uh, in the financial aid offer, any student that has a FAFSA application on file with the university, regardless of what's listed on that FAFSA application in regards to income, things like that, they are going to be offered $5,500 in federal loans. Now, depending on the income information, a portion of that $5,500 might be in a subsidized loan, and then the rest would be in an unsubsidized loan. The both of those loans carry the same interest rate. So this year, present students have an interest rate of about 4.5% fixed on these federal loans. The difference is the subsidized loan does not accrue interest while the student is in school. The unsubsidized loan does indeed accrue interest while the student is in school. So let's take an example. So if I receive a financial aid offer and I received an offer of $5,500 in federal loans in an unsubsidized loan, I can use half of that loan to help me pay for the fall term, and then I can use the other half to help me pay for the spring term. Once I use the fall portion of that loan, interest will start to accrue at that time, so around September. And then once the spring semester starts and I use the spring portion of that loan, then interest will accrue on the spring portion of the loan, approximately January timeframe. Now, for a subsidized loan, the interest does not start accruing on the loan until 6 months after a student graduates from their undergrad or stops attending school. So that's the difference between the two. What I would say as a parent, if you are considering loans, there's always a loan hierarchy. There are always loans that are a little bit better and advantageous than others. The most advantageous loans that you can find for your family to help fund college are the federal loans offered directly to the student. So if you need to take the loans, the first loans you should take is that $5,500 in federal loans offered to the student. After that, if your family needs additional loans, your family has two main options. You could either take out a loan to the parent directly in the parent's name, or the student could take out an additional loan in their name for themselves for school. Those are the two main options, and I'm happy to go through those two options. A loan directly to the parent is more than likely going to be a federal Parent Plus loan. There are bank loans out there to parents, but we tend to see more Parent Plus loans when it's a loan to the parent. The Parent Plus loan is a federal loan from the US Department of Education, so a family must have a FAFSA application on file. This year, the interest rate was around 7% fixed for the Parent Plus loan. There is a credit check and approval process that is all deemed by the US Department of Education. The credit approval is not deemed by a university. And then if approved, a family can get a Parent Plus loan up to the amount needed to help pay for school and other expenses such as room and board, books, and miscellaneous fees. Okay, so that's a Parent Plus loan. So I mentioned there were two options. The other option, if a family does not want to take out a Parent Plus loan, a student could take out an additional loan for themselves in their name from a bank. And the fancy terminology from a financial aid office is called a private education loan. So these might be the Sallie Mae's, the Wells Fargo's, Discovers. These are much more available in the banking market than they were when I was in college. So you might even want to call your local credit union to see if they're available. There is a really great loan filter search on the university website. If you open up a new web browser and you type in 3 words, PIT Fast Choice. So I hope that comes over okay through YouTube. So it's PIT Fast Choice, FAST as in not slow. I'm going to run that 5K and get that scholarship fast or quickly if I was good on my grammar. So the private education loan is a loan directly to the student, okay? It's in the student's name. Because they're young and because of their lack of credit history, there is a likelihood that these banks are going to ask for a cosigner on these loans. And more than likely, that cosigner is going to be the parent. If I were looking at these loans, I would suggest as a parent that you ask the bank if the cosigner can be removed from the loan after 2 years of prompt repayment. So what does that mean? So a student goes through undergrad, completes undergrad, starts to pay back these loans from their private education loan, and they pay them back promptly for 2 to 3 years. Then that bank will indeed remove the cosigner's name from the loan, and then that loan is completely the student's. It's their legal responsibility to continue paying. Now, there are a lot of advantages and disadvantages when you compare the question, should my family take a Parent Plus loan or should my family take a private education loan? This is a family decision. I would not be able to sway you one way or the other on what loan is better for your family. What I would say is on the Parent Plus loan, the advantage is usually the interest rate. The interest rate is usually better than what we see in the banking industry. The disadvantage of a Parent Plus loan is the fact that it is a loan in the parent's social security number. It can never be legally transferred to the student's name. So that being said, the advantage of a private education loan is that this loan is indeed in the student's name. They might have a cosigner, and that's why I would look into getting that cosigner's name removed in the future part of that loan. The disadvantage of a private education loan is usually the interest rate. The interest rate is usually higher than what is offered with the federal government that year.
Thank you, Trish, for all of the wealth of knowledge on those loans and breaking it down so we can understand it more clearly. Again, I would like to introduce myself for all of those who are just joining us. Welcome. I'm Hannah McBean. I'm with the Office of Financial Aid as a financial aid counselor, and I'm joined with two of my colleagues. We have Trish, who is also from the Office of Financial Aid, and we have Julia here, who is from the Office of Admissions, and we're here to try to answer as many questions as we can for you. Julia, I'm going to come to you next. We have some scholarship questions. There's a question, actually it's a dual, one for you, Julia, and also Trish would be able to weigh in on this. If a student would like to defer their admission, how would that affect their merit awards and any need-based aid that they have been offered?
That's a great question. So I'll start us off with the scholarship portion of it. If a student is looking to defer their admission, they still have to pay their $300 enrollment deposit by May 1st. We also have a form that students have to fill out in order to request officially defer a year. That's available on our website. So you're able to fill out that form and it will get sent right to us. And each of those situations is evaluated on a case-by-case basis. So if you are approved for a deferral year and you submit your tuition deposit by May 1st, essentially what we do is we roll everything over to the next year. So if you received a merit-based scholarship from us, that would be kind of rolled over to the next fall. It would be there for you. Same thing with the Honors College. So if you were admitted to the Honors College, that generally is also rolled over to the next year as well.
Okay, Trish, did you have anything to say about what would happen with that need-based aid if they deferred?
So now remember, the FAFSA application is yearly, and so financial aid is a cyclical event. So if you do defer a year, then you would want to fill out that next upcoming financial aid application form for that upcoming academic year in which you deferred. So it is possible that your need-based aid could change. Again, you will probably be offered the federal loans of $5,500 coming in, I can tell you that. But any type of need-based grants and things like that will go through a re-evaluation process using income information on that more updated FAFSA application for that updated future academic year.
Okay, thank you both. So we have another scholarship question. Students would like to know, hey, what happens if I am offered awards from another school? Can I negotiate with Pitt? What happens if, say if they want to appeal what they were awarded?
Yeah, so kind of the long and short of it, at this point, all of our scholarships have been awarded for the year. So for all of our incoming students this fall, the awards that we have given out are the final awards that we have. So at this point, no. One thing that I would like to recommend everybody to keep in mind, though, is to take a look at the bottom line cost when you are comparing different schools. There are a lot of students that we work with that are also applying to private institutions, for example, who may be giving you very large scholarship offers. For example, they could be offering you $20,000 or $30,000 per year. Maybe Pitt was able to offer you $5,000 per year, just for an example. In that case, one thing I would suggest to do is to take a look first at kind of what we call the sticker price. So you're going to look at the cost of tuition, the cost of room and board, any mandatory fees, essentially get your cost of attendance for each university, subtract those scholarships and subtract any need-based financial aid that you're receiving, and look at what your actual out-of-pocket costs are going to be for each university. In many cases, it turns out that even though a private institution offered you a much higher scholarship, that Pitt is still a better economic value for you and for your family. So just keeping that in mind. It can be a little daunting to see some of those numbers up front, but once you actually sit down and do the math, you can kind of see that it looks a little bit better on paper. One other thing I would also suggest for students is to just take a look at the value of the institution. Here at the University of Pittsburgh, the name comes with a lot of weight. We have some really top-notch programs here at Pitt. We are ranked within the top 10 in a lot of different categories, especially for health-related studies, for any of those majors, physical therapy, philosophy, any of those particular sections. And Pitt can really give our students a lot of value in the resources that we have to offer. Being in an urban environment, we have a lot of different things that our students can take advantage of in terms of internships, research experience, job opportunities, and then even things outside of the classroom as well. So just taking a look at that and really sitting down and trying to figure out what the best fit is for you. We do understand that a piece of that is financial, and we get that, and we definitely are here to help kind of walk through that with you and figure out what it is that we can do to help and to assist. So yeah, I don't know if Trish, if you have any other things that you'd like to add on to that one as well.
I am also a fan of looking at the bottom line. For our jobs, I like to say sometimes that the details on my desk are straightforward. Many times, institutions that cost a lot more, they're almost discounting through merit scholarships and things like that. And you have to earn that scholarship to get a scholarship from the University of Pittsburgh. It's competitive, it's tough. If you get one, that is awesome. If you don't get one, don't be too discouraged. I have to say that I love working with the student population, and I am meeting extremely bright students. Not all of these students are receiving merit scholarships from the university. I think it's maybe a 20-something% of the incoming freshman class. But overall, the incoming freshman class is a very bright group of academic students. So I would look at quality of program. I would look at your bottom line, and I would look to see what you're doing in the future. You know, are you heading into graduate school directly after that? What are you doing from there? Is your family a large family? Do you have many siblings? Things like that. These are all types of conversations that having your family have these conversations now, even though they are tough and they are a little bit challenging to work through. I do believe it's worthwhile to have those conversations now.
Thank you both. I mean, I completely agree. I mean, Pitt is the place to be as far as to learn and to live and to work on campus. It's an opportunity to be a part of the city of Pittsburgh that is thriving, and especially at the University of Pittsburgh. And on that note, we have a question about work study. And what is work study? And if a student sees that on their financial offer letter, a work study grant, how do they interpret that? Does that mean that they have to work coming in the summer?
Okay, so that's a great question. And I would encourage you to ask a question about work study to any university that is still on your options list. Work study is handled um, differently for each university. At this university, at the University of Pittsburgh, if you have the want, you can get a job on campus. You do not need to have a federal work study listed on your financial aid offer. For any student that wants to grab a part-time job on campus, they can do so. If you log into the Pitt system, so you would authenticate and log in, and then if you open a web browser and type in join.pitt.edu, so join, join.pitt.edu, you'll get to the section of the university website that offers all levels of employment. And when you go into the student section, and then you can go per campus, so I work on the Pittsburgh campus, I could go to the Pittsburgh campus and I could see a potential list of all the work study jobs that are presently offered for students today for this present semester. All of this is an online process, meaning that you apply online to these potential jobs. These jobs could be office jobs. They might be jobs in the dining hall. They might be jobs helping an athletic team. They might be jobs in labs, in research. If you are a student heading into some type of STEM, some type of science technology field, there are a lot of research jobs and a lot of jobs in labs. This is a very part-time job. This is not supposed to interrupt your academic studies. Generally speaking, these jobs are 10 to 15 hours a week. They'll pay a little bit more than minimum wage, but it exposes you to professional jobs where you could meet people and think, do I want to do what they are doing? And whatever that answer is a good answer to find. It's good to get your feet wet and figure out what type of job you might want to have. For example, the financial aid office has student workers, and I love them. They've been in our office for a little bit over a year. They do not have any type of business degree that they are seeking. They're not in financial stuff or anything like that. One is in neuroscience and is graduating, and one is in dietetics and nutrition and is graduating. I would be happy to write them a letter of reference, just a character reference for a future job offer or a graduate program that they might be heading into, just because I've seen the caliber of their work, I've met their character type, and they have earned in me an adult on campus that is willing to, want to help them succeed in the future. This is why I'm a huge fan of work study. Now remember, work study is a type of financial aid, but it's a unique type of financial aid in that this is just a job on campus. So it acts like a job on campus. A person applies for the job, gets the job, shows up for the job, receives a paycheck for their hours worked. And then you can do what you want with that paycheck. Many students use the funding to have for miscellaneous expenses or something like that. If you are going to use the money to help your family in paying for tuition, you would want to have your timeline be where you are using that money to pay for a future semester. So when you are doing your bottom line calculations, do not include work study in your bottom line calculations, because the amount of work study that's listed on your financial aid offer doesn't act like other types of aid. It's not going to pay your charges. It simply allows you to get a job on campus.
Thank you so much for that information on work study, and it is very valuable. So you won't just be leaving Pitt with the notable degree, right? But you'll also have work experience to go along with it. Thanks so much, Trish. So we have some more loan questions. One question is, when would interest on loans accrue if a student pursues a master's immediately after receiving their undergraduate degree?
Okay, so that's a great question. So remember, we're talking about various types of loans. So all of the loans will be accruing interest except if you have a federal subsidized loan. So if you have a Parent Plus loan, if you have a loan from a bank, if you have an unsubsidized loan, those loans will be accruing interest while a student is in school. Those loans do not require a family or a student to repay on those loans until a student has completed their schooling, but interest is indeed accruing. A federal subsidized loan will not accrue interest until 6 months after a student stops attending school or graduates from school. So in the case where an undergraduate student has a subsidized loan and then immediately heads out into a grad program after they complete their undergrad, that loan still stays in that grace period where interest does not accrue.
Okay, also, if maybe a parent is a non-resident or a non-citizen, are they able to apply for a Federal Plus loan?
That's a great question. So if you head to the federal website, studentaid.gov, so studentaid.gov, you can see the requirements for parents applying for a Parent Plus loan. Biological parents who are U.S. citizens of a student can apply for a Parent Plus loan, as well as non-residents can also apply, and there are specific details listed on the federal website of which non-U.S. citizens would be eligible.
Okay, thank you. We also have a question about a 529 plan. Now that is pretty much any information around that is housed at the Student Payment Center, and you can reach out to them. Their number is 412-624-7520. But Trish, would you be able to tell us anything you know about how these 529 plans actually pay for tuition?
Sure. So as Hannah mentioned, a 529 plan will be a form of payment. So financial aid are loans, grants, scholarships, work study, okay? They help to pay the cost of college. Anything coming in from an outside source, like this 529 plan concept, is a form of payment. So when you're looking at your bottom line of how much is school going to cost, then what you can do on your family calculations is subtract how much you want to pull out of your 529 plan for that upcoming semester. So maybe you want to pull out enough to pay for the entire semester. Maybe you want to pull out enough to pay for a portion of the semester, and then the rest is in a loan in some form. We see all of those options being used by parents. The Student Payment Center is the office that works closely with financial aid and handles all payments, and they have a portal called PitPay. And because financial aid will communicate with the student directly, okay? Whether you like it or not, all financial aid communications is going to go to that student's PIT email account. So I always suggest for parents to make sure that they have access to PitPay. So PitPay is the portal where you can see payments coming in, you will receive reminders for payments, you will see financial aid information that has paid into the account. So if your student is committing to PIT, one of the things you want to do in the May-June timeframe is ask your student to sign you up as an authorized user in PitPay so that you can see all of this information as well.
Okay, so unfortunately, we got to close. This has been very enriching. I'm so glad we got a chance to chat with you all, and we can't wait to see you come to Pitt in the fall. Please feel free to reach out to us. Our telephone number is 412-624-7488. Option 1, if you want to talk to someone in admissions. If you would like to speak with someone in Office of Financial Aid, just hit 412-624-7488. It'll come straight to us, and we'll be happy to try to help you and help you troubleshoot anything, or just, come and talk and find out more about what we have to offer. I hope all of you are just hanging there, and we're so excited for the class of 2020 and those transferring in. You all take care.